What's up, fam? Thank you for dropping by. Today, you are listening to the very first episode of Student Vibes, a brand new podcast where I try to capture some of the most fascinating ideas, thoughts, and experiences of the students I meet at college. Today, I am bringing you a fire conversation I had with Thea Pan, a talented and creative student/social entrepreneur. Thea is one of the founding members of Criticaledges, a student-driven online magazine that stems from the Critical Edge Alliance. She has also been involved with a co-working space called Impact Hub Shanghai, as well as the Entrepreneurship at Evergreen program. She is an advocate of student-centered learning, critical thinking, and social engagement. This is something you do not want to miss. Check it out. So I saw that you went to Shanghai's Xinwei College. Is that correct?
Yes, Shanghai Xinwei College.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And it's my understanding that it is a school a lot like Evergreen, although there are some differences. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So my school is similar to Evergreen in the way that it's also very free for students to choose their own educational paths. And our programs are also project-based, problem-oriented, and interdisciplinary. But it's also significantly different in that it is student-centered, student-run. So the school got rid of all of its departments and official staff members.
And the administration and all that stuff too? Or are there some kind of people that are facilitating, I guess?
Yes. So the staffs are, they became coaches and not people who make the decisions like in normal universities. And students are, they have the opportunity to participate in the what we call committees, and committees are the school departments. So we have students in the finance departments.
Oh, really?
Helping to craft the budget for the whole school spending.
Wow, I think that's a little bit different than the way that we do things here. And I feel like a lot of students at Evergreen would prefer that kind of organization structure. So did you go to this school? Was this the first college that you went to after graduating high school or whatever the equivalent is over there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I was in high school, the last 2 years, I wanted to study in a liberal arts college in the U.S., mainly because the education in China, most of the schools are very, very, very test-oriented, very strict, and students don't really have the opportunity to explore much other than what we need to do for test. And I just thought that, education should be much more than preparing students for test, and I wanted to learn more about myself and also about the world. And I just had had an opportunity to read about liberal arts college, and I thought, that would be a better education for me as a person. But I wasn't able to get into any of the schools after I applied, and then I went to a traditional Chinese college for about a month. Then I quit, and later I found Xinwei College, which is the first liberal arts college in China. So I attended there for 2 years.
Why did you choose the United States? Was there a specific opportunity that you had, or was it because you found Evergreen and you're like, oh, I'm just going to go there because it's a liberal arts college? What was the deciding factor, I guess, on coming here?
Yeah, so like I said, my school in Shanghai is governed by students, so we have a lot of opportunity really to participate in shaping, whatever programs and decisions the school will make. And 2 years ago, we had two faculty who knew about Evergreen, and my teachers are all professors from the U.S.
Oh,
and at the time,
okay.
we wanted to build partnerships with more progressive universities in the U.S. So me and a few other students came and visited Evergreen and also Reed College in Portland.
Oh, did you? So you visited here before you enrolled?
Yeah. And then after the visit, we built an exchange program with Evergreen, and I was one of the students helping to shape the program. So so I was here first as an exchange student along with a few other Xinwei students, and then after a year, I decided to transfer.
Oh, I gotcha. So was that pretty frightening to come here, or was it just like you knew this is your destiny to like come over here and study at least?
I think that was maybe the latter, because I've been thinking about this for a long time. Trying to study in the US for 2-3 years, although at some point I kind of stopped thinking about it because I think the school that I was attending in China was very good. It's a very different learning environment, and I was challenged a lot, and also able to find many opportunities for me to develop personally and professionally. And actually hesitated. I mean, should I still come to the U.S.? Because if it seems to me that I have a very good path in front of me if I stayed in Shanghai. But I still came because I thought, it's good to try something even newer and see what happens. Yeah.
It's exciting, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Well, I was born in the US, but last year I did a program at Evergreen where I got to go to Nepal for 1 month, and that was just an entire experience in and of itself. And like, just the benefits, or just like the transformation that I went through from the experience, even though it was only a month.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend it to anyone if you have the opportunity. Find a way, because you're young, especially if you're young, find a way to like get the money to do it, because now we're pretty much free and we're not like locked down with like family or, house. Well, many of it, not everyone, but some, more likely to. So I would definitely recommend that. Yeah. And Tia, so I was wondering, like, how did you begin working, or at least partnering with the Impact Hub in Shanghai? Was that something that you found out through the college over there?
Yeah, so this is relevant to some of my passions and interests and careers. So Impact Hub Shanghai is a networking and coworking and an incubator for social enterprises. And social entrepreneurship is also something that is growing very rapidly in China, especially in Shanghai. It's a very international city. A lot of the people come with their business ideas, project ideas, find partners in Shanghai to start working on their projects. So, I initially participated in many events and workshops in Shanghai relevant to social innovation and social entrepreneurship. And I met one of the co-founders and one of the key investors of this organization and started interning there. And
wow.
That was a very profound experience for me, because it was the first time that I really stepped into the real world and be connected and see how people function and what kind of things are happening in the real world, and being able to take that and reflect on my own goals and passions and see, what is possible for me to do in the real world. Because in the school, a lot of the times we're pretty confined and blind to the smaller community of a university. But in the world, there's a lot going on, and we can find our own positions.
Yeah, like bridging that gap between school and the real world, I think is one of the most, it's kind of like the idea of one of the reasons why I started this project actually is because of that. I felt like for me going into anthropology, or I've been studying anthropology and a lot of the social sciences as well. And I felt like it wasn't enough to become a professor and just recycle the whole system. And I felt like for me, like I just want to actually like apply what I've learned in school and like take it to actually helping people or making a difference. And I think that's a really interesting outlook on life, especially because you said that was like halfway through your time.
That was in my sophomore year.
Oh, wow. Cool. See, I was stuck at a community college that's really traditional for the first 2 years. It's just kind of like how I went about secondary school, like going into college. I just stayed at home and stuff and stayed with my parents so I could just go to there, mostly for the cost and whatnot. But by the end of it, I was so ready to remove the ceiling and like remove all the restrictions. And my friend had been telling me about Evergreen, and I was like, I got to go here. Like this is the place for me. So that's really interesting though, that you kind of found that at the beginning or a little bit earlier. And like, you knew this is where I need to go and stuff. I wanted to ask you, like, what is the most meaningful class that you've taken at Evergreen?
It's a very difficult question to answer.
Or what is one meaningful class that you've really enjoyed here?
Yeah. Well, I said it's difficult to answer because, to be very honest, I have a lot of doubts now on college education and on just classes in general, because I think they are good, but are they really that meaningful to me? And is it really helping me, as a learner, a person who wants to grow and develop in the ways that I want to? Sometimes I have many doubts, but there are meaningful class experience, and I would say that is a writing class that I took with Emily Lardner, who was the director of the Washington Center here in Evergreen. And it was meaningful because Emily was a really good teacher, and her own career goal as a faculty is to help teachers become better teachers and teaching students, and help students understand how they learn and what does it require, I guess, the environment and the conditions that they need for them to learn well, both for themselves and for the faculty. So in the class, it was eye-opening for me to realize as a learner, what does it take for me to learn well? Because I don't think I have learned anything about that, for such a long time as a student. We never really learned how do we learn? We just go in class and assume that we learned something by the end of the class, and we assume that the teachers know how to teach. So, that class gave me a more critical perspective, and also gave me some theories and concepts for me to evaluate whether, teachers are doing a good job and whether I am learning myself. So I think that's, that has been very meaningful to me. And I use that lens to look at all of my classes now, to evaluate the teachers and evaluate myself. And it's a difficult thing to become a really good student who learns things every day, because I think still that's not being taught too much, and we're not trained or taught how to do it. And a lot of the teachers sometimes are not really teaching that well also.
Yeah, and I do want to say that I've never been a teacher, but I can imagine it's pretty difficult dealing with a bunch of like rowdy 18 to 22-year-olds and then having the mix of like people who return to college as well, and then just trying to facilitate all that. It is definitely challenging, but I do think that the experience that you're talking about that we've never been taught how to learn in general, like you go to school and you just copy, and then you take a quiz, and then you pass the test, and then you repeat it until, for 12 years. So I can totally reconcile with that. And I'm interested. So one of the first class that I ever took was with Sarah Elton-Tawi. Well, at least I was in her seminar. I don't know if you've taken her before.
No.
She is her knowledge primarily focuses on the Middle East and those kind of things, or that part of the world, and also study of religion, at least my understanding. And one of the seminars, she actually sat us down as like, I don't think any of you have learned how to read a scholarly text, like really like read it and comprehend it.
Yeah.
Like, and everyone raised their hand.
I think that is a good teacher. If the teacher is aware of where the student is at and their the gaps that they have in their learning capabilities and reaching, their learning goals, and pointing that out to the students and trying to guide them to close those learning gaps. I think those are, she sounds like a good teacher. And maybe I was a little bit too negative earlier. I don't think there are all bad teachers.
Oh yeah, for sure. But there are some that I think are a little bit more traditional and still kind of hold on to the barriers to entry, I guess. And I guess that, it seems like a juggling kind of thing where you have to like juggle all these students, get to know them all in 10 weeks and like, then like at the same time figure out what they need most. And so it definitely seems like a challenge, and that's why I don't want to go into it just yet. I think that'll be something I think about later,
Yeah, of course.
So I guess kind of leading into this next thing, I heard, so when I first met you, you mentioned that you work for or volunteer for, not sure, for a magazine called Critical Edges. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So Critical Edges is an international student magazine that I started with a few other students from around the world. And I met those students through a network of progressive universities that is called the Critical Edge Alliance. I was one of the founding member along with two students from India, one from Colombia, one from Germany, and one from Denmark.
Yeah, Denmark. I remember you saying Denmark. That's right.
Yeah, so it's a pretty international student team, and we work remotely together for a shared goal. And our goal is to promote intercultural exchanges, local international journalism, and advocate for more critical and progressive models and innovations in education. So that's kind of what the magazine is about. And my role now is more of the helping to maintain the website and also facilitate the organizational development within our project.
And I'm just curious, this is kind of a segue, but how did you learn all these skills, like facilitating the website and like building and like helping start this thing? Was it all self-taught? Were there people that you have as kind of like a mentor or, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, I also think about this because this question determines whether or not I'm doing a good job and the team is doing a good job. And the answer is that we're all just, maybe I say self-taught, but we're all learning in the process. And I think that's one valuable feature of our project is that it's completely student initiated. So it's an effort from, students' internal motivation and desire to do something like this. With time differences, very different schedules, but we still find time to work together. But at the same time, we face many challenges. We now have a team of 5 people from very different backgrounds, different ideas, different work styles, and how do we really work together? That's a very big challenge that we're facing. Even though we have a shared goal, but then and also there are some specific skills that we lack, specific experience that we lack because it's a publication where currently we're not all equipped. Professionally speaking, we're not equipped to do what we're doing, but we're still trying our best and learning as best as we can. But I would say if maybe we have a mentor, maybe that can help us grow as well. Yeah.
And I was going to ask, so you mentioned that it's a magazine for international students, well, just like a kind of like a solidarity network or something along those lines, like a community of people across all different places in the world. One of the things I've noticed in a few of the schools that I've been to, is that there's this kind of disconnect between international students and the local students. And I'm just wondering, how might we bridge that gap and get students to interact more? And I guess if we backtrack a little bit, that kind of ties in with how does what is the goal of Critical Edges? What's the grand goal that you're trying to accomplish, I guess? I don't know.
Yes, that's a great question. Yes. So in our grand goal, one of the biggest goal is to bridge this lack of understanding and sometimes miscommunication between cultures, countries. So our world has become more, it has been for a long time, and increasingly more globalized and deeply connected, but we still don't have very good sources to learn about other cultures, especially on a more subjective, personal level. Maybe there are news or books that you can read as kind of like objective facts, but you don't really know how people are really living there.
There's no interaction really, unless you really seek it out.
Yeah, and their personal experiences. So that's what we want to bring out. First is have students write about their own experience, and we have emphasis on more progressive schools, and share their own maybe projects, passions, personal journeys. So then students from around the world are able to see in a more say humane and also maybe more emotional way of, a different culture. And our second biggest goal is to advocate for a more critical mode of education. And by critical, we mean having a more
unbiased kind of critical thinking kind of
because I'm trying to define critical because it's a word that we use so much, but it's it's rarely defined. But how we understand critical is when we look at something, we try to ask, is this working? Is this the right thing to do? So with our current education, if we're looking at higher education, in many countries, there's the trend for professionalism or vocationalism, and colleges for the purpose of career preparation in a pretty superficial way, because it and also there are these separate subjects, and a lot of the students, when they come out of the college or when they enter the college, the goal is to find a job and earn money and earn good money. So that kind of students, when we graduate, if that our goal is to just earn money and get a good job, we need to think of the kind of society that we're creating, and whether or not we have people to help address many of the social problems that we're facing, because our education, in my mind, should prepare students to find their own passion relevant to a certain aspect of the world, and being able to contribute in a meaningful and positive way. That's beyond just getting a job and earning good money, but surely there will be a balance. So that's kind of what I mean with critical is having a deeper thought on what we see, and try to critique it if necessary, and propose something better. Yeah.
I also want to ask you about another project that both actually you and I are both involved in, called Entrepreneurship at Evergreen. So I met you there, and I'm not sure how you got involved with the project, and I just wanted to ask, and maybe you could tell us a little bit more. Just give us a quick summary about what the project's about.
Yeah, so from my understanding, Entrepreneurship at Evergreen is a program that started this year to help students who have certain ideas and desire to create something that's in accordance to their passion. And at the process, they might face many different challenges, and the program is a support and mentor center to help students overcome the different obstacles and and take their ideas into reality and maybe find a team and bring their ideas to the world to implement it. So that's my understanding of it. And because I have in the past worked for Impact Hub and also been in the entrepreneurship community, I think there is this emerging trend among young people who we start projects that we think is meaningful. So it's purpose driven. And so there is this trend of young people now starting at a young age doing something that's meaningful to them, taking a lot of initiation, a lot of time and energy, but then we face so much problem
and so much pressure to like conform and like just go the linear route and go to school, graduate, get your degree, find a job hopefully and do that for the next 30 years.
I think for people who are starting their own things, they need a lot of support and they need a community to be there with them. So that's kind of, why I think it's meaningful to join this project, is to help create that space and that community to support students who are passionate about doing something that they love. Yeah.
Definitely, if anyone is interested in this, feel free to stop by. We have meetings Monday, 3 to 5 p.m. in SEM 2, A2105, and also on Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. At least for now. The hours may change because I understand that there's a lot of events going on at those times. But definitely get in contact with us or, show up. I'm really interested in personal development. So firstly, what is the biggest challenge or adversity you have encountered thus far, and how did you overcome it? Or what are you doing now to overcome it if it's ongoing?
Yeah. So the challenge that I see now is the need to balance short-term goals and long-term goals.
Yes.
So in my class recently, and also including my leadership class last year, I learned it's important that we have long-term goals, like a bigger picture for our life, and have a general idea of where we're heading. And so every day we are moving in a direction that we are aware of. But in daily life, there are so many just small tasks and very specific things that we need to do. And it's very easy to just forget where we're going and what we're doing. So I think that's my challenge, is to, remember every day, why am I here, what I am doing, and have a solid plan for every day. I'm still working on it because, still I sometimes just wake up and half day has passed and I am not really sure what I have accomplished and what my goal is for the day.
I've definitely have had days like that for sure.
Yeah, I think maybe it sounds like a tough life if you just like live that way, having to plan everything. But I don't think it is, because it's actually a way for us to live in alignment with our own visions, in an aware way, rather than just getting by every day and not really knowing what we're doing. So that's what I want to do, is to have a clear vision for myself every day of what I am doing, why am I doing this?
What must I do today? I think that was there's a quote, something like that Benjamin Franklin used to ask himself every day in the morning, like, what must I accomplish today, like first thing in the morning, and that kind of set him up for the rest of the day. And I think like the lifestyle that I'm kind of starting to get into, and I'm sure Thea, you can probably relate to this, is that all the actions that I'm taking right now to develop this project, or my own project, and I'm sure Thea as well, your own projects that you have all over the place, every action is sort of leading to this final vision. And to other people, I've had people tell me, well, just like comment and be like, why are you doing all this? Like you're trying to like overachieve, like you're doing too much, like you're gonna, like how, that life must suck. But in reality, I've never felt better.
Yes.
Since I started working towards this final vision.
Yes, I agree, because I think, for people, like you said, satisfaction and a sense of happiness from my own experience also comes really largely from, work, like purposeful work and meaningful work, and the learning that we get from that experience. It might seem tedious or it might seem boring for other people. It might seem very challenging or difficult, but I think it's when we are engaged with something that we think is very important, we get a real sense of satisfaction from about life, right? And it's not like labor, hard work that, is pressures or stressful for us, but something that we enjoy because we're actually getting so much from it. Yeah.
Is there any habits or rituals or practices that you do to keep yourself positive and motivated, or to de-stress? Like, what's one thing that you do to kind of manage stress in your life, I guess? Because of course, like, we have stress, and we're talking about, we have this vision and it keeps us driving, but there are times where the stress gets really overwhelming, and in order to accomplish your vision, you really need to learn ways to manage that and manage that stress in a positive way. And I was just wondering what's something that you do?
Yeah, I think there are two things. First is, because we're talking about managing stress, with management, I think we have to learn to give up on certain things. So trying to make prioritize the things that, what's most important to me, what must I do and what can I not do? And where do you place most of your attention and energy? And I think that will, help you focus on what's really important to you. And the second thing that I think is helpful is to take some time from the day and really just rest. Maybe it can be half an hour if you do something that you enjoy. For me, I listen to music, and sometimes in Evergreen, I go to the sauna, or I go to Tai Chi or yoga classes. So having some time for our brain to rest, and when we get out from the rest, we have more energy and maybe some fresh ideas. And the last thing is, I guess, to be hopeful and also believe in ourselves. That the goal might seem high, but we're getting there, even though we might not achieve it fully. But we're learning and we're growing, and be grateful for that. Yeah.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
One last thing, what would be the best way for any of our listeners to either follow your journey with Critical Edges and some of your other projects, or get in touch with you, or possibly even join some of the projects, or, what would be the best way for them to contact you?
Yes. So I can leave my email address. That's one way. And I'm also very open to people who are interested in, sharing your personal experience as well, for either it's your academic project, your personal journey, and if you have been to other cultures, your experience with cultural exchanges. So those things were as Critical Edges, we're open to different submissions, and I can leave the email for that as well. Sure. And I'm also welcome any connection on Facebook or LinkedIn. Yeah. So actually anything goes.
Awesome. And I just remembered there is something coming up in a couple weeks, and I think it's my understanding that you're the organizer for this thing, right?
I'm helping we have a lot of organizers. Gotcha. One of the organizers. Yeah. So it's called Seattle International Startup Weekend, and the idea is to bring people from different culture and backgrounds, and form multicultural teams to work on real projects that are meaningful to our society. And you're able to meet professionals from different backgrounds, and it's a great way to network and actually really get your hands on working and producing something over an intense and very fun weekend.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be there, and I'm excited to be a part of that and just meet people, meet other people, network, and also just build a project from the ground up and see what kind of skills I can offer to the different projects going on. I don't necessarily have an idea myself, but I'm interested to find people that maybe my skills could help out.
Yeah. You can certainly join teams.
Yeah, and this is happening the weekend of February 23rd to 25th.
Yes, it takes place in Amazon Arizona building.
Okay, yes. And I think there's a discounted price for students, is that correct?
Yeah, $50 including 7 meals.
Yeah, so basically the ticket pays for itself.
Yeah.
Like it pays for all your food over the weekend. So yeah, if you're all interested, feel free to contact us or hit us up. Otherwise, I think we're going to just wrap this up here. And Thea, thank you for joining me. And hopefully we can hear more about your projects and stuff in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
What is up, everyone? I am humbled that you made it this far. I just want to say thank you and give a shout out to my boy Torpus. That's Torpoise, who let me use his song called Hypnotic Pho in the intro. Also, another big shout out to my homie Nick Lorico Cicero for letting me use his song Goes On, which is the song you just heard at the end. He goes by Lorico, Loricco, on SoundCloud. If you like what you hear, be sure to check him out. Lastly, I just want to say if you are working on some sort of project, or maybe you travel to another country for a study abroad program, or maybe you've done some independent research or an internship at an organization, or maybe you are a writer or an artist or a video producer, I want to have a conversation with you. So feel free to hit me up on the Instagram or my Facebook page. And if you're interested in understanding anything about culture, society, the human mind, feel free to visit my blog and my website at twsun.com.